Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here sharing with you an incredible chapter of my life. My name is Dr. Colin Perry, and today I'll take you on a journey through an experience that changed my perspective. I'll tell you about an amazing experience I had in 2008. At that time, I was 49 years old and enjoying good health. But I started experiencing chest pains. When I mentioned this to my doctor, he suggested that I go home, relax, take it easy, and not engage in strenuous activities. So, I followed his advice and took it easy at home for about a week. Things started to improve, and I began to feel much better. However, I couldn't continue like that forever, as I was still waiting for the test results. One day, I made the mistake of opening the back door and looking outside. It was a mess, almost like a jungle. Feeling unwell, I decided to go out and try to clean up. I grabbed the lawnmower from the garage and started trimming the grass. Unfortunately, I overexerted myself and ended up feeling worse. I wanted to do it myself, with no one else around. I kept pulling the cord repeatedly, getting frustrated and annoyed with the machine that wasn't cooperating. And then, as I continued to pull, suddenly out of nowhere, a massive cramp hit me right in the chest. It was very strong, very intense. I immediately realized it felt like a heart attack. At that moment, I heard a voice speaking to me loudly, which doesn't happen to me every day. This voice said loudly and clearly, "You're going to die, but I have things for you to do." This startled me a bit. I was really struggling with the pain but also trying to mentally process what was happening and realizing that it had to be God speaking to me, and there was no way I could have said that to myself or anything remotely close to it. I began to process the fact that it said, "You may die, but I have things for you to do." That was a big contradiction. So, I was looking up at the sky, saying, "What's going on here?" And then he spoke again and said, "Go inside, pack a bag, call an ambulance." It's as simple as that. So, I did exactly what he said. I could still walk and function somewhat okay despite the chest pain I was feeling. So, I went into my house, packed a small bag, called the ambulance, and they arrived quickly. They were there within 10 minutes, which was a relief. They came through the door, and one of them was a complete rookie, his first day on the job. The other was a more experienced ambulance paramedic. The rookie, basically because he was in training, said, "You know, we're not sure if you've had a heart attack. It's not optional to say, but anyway, we'll treat you as if you did." So, they said they would treat me with a battery of ultrasound and morphine, and they proceeded to do just that. They prepared a morphine injection to lower my blood pressure and make it safer for my heart. After performing these procedures, they placed me on the ambulance stretcher, and we headed to the hospital. On the way, the man told me again, "Let's give him a bit more morphine and ultrasound as a second dose to ensure there's no pressure," which was done. But shortly after, he injected me with the second dose of morphine. I started feeling dizzy. I recognized this faint feeling before fainting and said, "I'm passing out. I can feel it coming, so be ready." Sure enough, within a few seconds, everything went completely black. As I said, I had fainted before, I had lost consciousness before in my life. But this was different. It was a completely different sensation. I was very alert, wide awake, and I was floating in what seemed to be darkness, but it also felt like water. I was weightless, simply suspended in nothingness. That was the sensation. It was quite a pleasant experience. I've meditated on water before, I'm talking about flotation tanks. But I imagine this was the feeling of a flotation tank in total darkness, just no sensation, no weight, no chest pain. It had disappeared. I was floating, feeling quite content, thinking that this was just draining the excess supply. And over time, I began to think to myself, I think I'm dead. This was very different from a single solitary experience with that kind of fear. I thought, I feel like I've died. My body completely separated from any physicality. I think I left my body here. I'm no longer alive. And when that occurred to me, fear began to rise. So, I wasn't really keen on dying, actually. I had a lot more to do. So, I was drifting and asking the universe for a chance to grow. And I began to turn and engage. I felt like I was sinking and being drawn down. The more I was afraid, the more I was pulled down, as if my fear was pulling me down. And I turned my attention downward to see what was down there. It was a very scary experience because I felt this bottomless pit, this dark void of nothingness, bottomless darkness. I was extremely concerned about it. I didn't want to go in that direction because that was the last place to take it. So, I've been a Christian all my life, and I just cried out everything I had. So, I said, "Jesus, come and help me." A few times I yelled out loud, "Jesus, come help me." And I continued to sink. After a while, suddenly out of nowhere, a very strong hand grabbed me from before and said, "You don't want to go that way." I started to rise, and as I looked, I could see it was a human-like figure just holding onto my arm, and we began to ascend. It was very fast. I don't know if you'd say Star Trek going into warp speed, but that's how it felt. Scenes were passing by me very quickly. I had no idea where I was going, just that I was going up. But it was at a very rapid pace. This continued for a while.